We were at the Pittsburgh Symposium, and I had the opportunity to sit in with Pascal. He does patina chips, and basically he's taking white oak, turning it very thin and flat, and then when it dries, you can sandblast it. So the light kind of goes through, not going through real well, and you turn these. So I'm going to be turning this around. The optimum thickness that we're going to try and turn is 2 millimeters. So the first part of this demo is going to look like it's drying paint because I got to get the surface nice and flat, and then to start out that 2 millimeters. Once I get the 2 millimeters set, I can roll. But as that goes through here. So I'm going to pass these around, so if you didn't get a chance to look at it, they might be fragile. This stuff grows on trees. It's not going to upset me at all. If something happens, we can turn another one. Big thing right here, we're starting out with white oak. This was cut Saturday after Christmas from Dow Lumber. I sealed up both ends. Last night I cut it, immediately put it in shrink wrap because we don't want it to dry out. This side sealed up in here. I'm going to chuck this side. The big thing is we don't want any surface checks on this, and this is why we want to watch it. Plus, you're going to see it start warping really nice as we start cutting it at 2 millimeters because it's going to start drying. Those were turned perfectly flat, and you can see that they were cupped. It's because this is the live edge of the bark here, which is more porous and open. As it shrinks, as it dries, it wants to shrink. So it starts to pull it up into a dish. When we get done with this, I'm going to throw it in a paper bag along with some of the damp chips to slow down the drying. Those I try to dry a little too fast, and that's why they cracked in the center. But obviously it isn't all that bad. Any questions?
How long do you leave it in the bag?
Depends if I want to throw it in the microwave. But 2 weeks, 1/8 of an inch doesn't last. It stays pretty dry. Just keep checking it. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, should be more than enough. The other one's sandblasted, and that's why I think it needs to go thinner. I turned that one, both of those at about 2.5 millimeters, and it took me about 4 hours to sandblast that. So what I did right here is I just found center, kind of like with the protractor, just said boom, 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 because I want to keep it kind of balanced. Yes, sir?
How big of an air blast system?
I just went over to Harbor Freight and bought their cabinet sandblaster for $119.
Is that a pressurized one?
No, gravity, it's suction. But I have a...
Now you said it took 4 hours. Is that because of the low pressure on that one?
No, I was blowing 100 pounds, big nozzle. I was totally inexperienced. It's the first time I ever sandblasted a piece of wood. So... The reason why, thank you for that, and I should have pointed out, there's a reason why we have a log this big. One is tool clearance. We need to have, and this is actually, for this size diameter, a little thin, but since I've already done it, it's fine with me. But give yourself some room. Give yourself some room. Everything comes down to tool clearance. Make some sawdust here. Big thing about white oak is the tannic acid. So everything we got here is basically going to turn black. I like it. You know it. Yes, sir. The white oak, if you want to turn it to lace, the grain is porous enough for you to sandblast. You can make a potato chip out of anything. Mike did a maple one, and it doesn't curl up as nice. Oak with the growth rings allows it to expand. White oak gets a little chewy. Pascal really liked white oak and variations of white oak. Pretty slow. I use a lot of the tool rest to keep me a straight line. Telling you're watching paint dry right now. I have Cindy Drozer's end on the end of that live center, or dead center, whatever you want to call it. Because what happens on the end of your chuck, you have about 3/4 of an inch that'll go in there. So that allows you to get nice and close to that. Flatten it out a little bit for the chuck. The dovetail on it. Think that'll fit? Pretty close. Yeah. Pascal would use a long nose and do an insert for safety reasons right here, and I know it's a polycarbonate and all that good stuff, but let's not test it. Oh, it's nice and green. I could have went a little smaller. move those so you don't, like, jab your elbow. Nope. You need tool clearance. So you got to waste that much wood. I have my lathe bolted to the floor so it doesn't wobble a whole lot. Yes, sir.
I know you're doing a show, but in order to reduce the anticipation, tell us why you didn't start out with a warning.
When you get back over in here, I'm literally going to turn this down 2 millimeters to, I can get it down to about 1/4 inch in diameter before I cut it. So I have to make sure I have my tool, enough space to get my tool in there past the chuck. Now the longer nose will make a big difference, but you still have to have tool clearance. Plus, it still comes down to keeping everything nice and wet.
You're going to turn everything down away from the headstock, that side of the post.
Yes.
Tailstock in.
Yep. All I'm trying to do is make this place perfectly flat right now. I don't turn much wet wood, so I find this is kind of fun. If everybody's conscientious that you feel the bark rub against your hand, that's when you know your hand's a little close. You know what? It has some knots and stuff right here, which is causing it to jump. It's hitting some of the harder wood in here. So again, we got to make sure this is all nice and flat. It would definitely be a little easier if we get a little more speed out of it. But I'm just riding the bevel all the way down in a straight cut. I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Tom,
Yes, sir.
is that too coarse to consider using, finishing that base, if you started out there with 1 inch 60? Would the vacuum pull through?
Vacuum would pull, well, it's white oak, so it shouldn't pull through that bad, but you got to figure you're going to dry the wood really bad. What I'm going to do is just get rid of some of this out of round so I can pick up the speed a little more. I left that much so I can approach it a little better, because I need to make sure that I get 2 millimeters before I go too far, because the wood just flex really bad. Again, just trying to get the face nice and flat, clean it all up. It still ends up being with a long cut of the blade in here. I'm sorry? I'm just using a regular bowl gouge with a fingernail grind. Got a nice little curve right there. One of those lock in place. I don't know if too many people use their fingernail gouge this way. But you can get a really nice shear cut off of it. Two things you want to do on this if you attempt this. Use a smaller piece for your first one, if you can find it. And secondly, the crucial part is right here, is making sure this face is nice and flat. And clean. The bark will tear out a little bit on you, but you want to get rid of the bark anyways. Like I said, this is the part that it's like watching paint dry. I got one bad spot right there. It cuts the wood versus scrapes it. It makes a really nice clean cut. Somebody showed that cut real steep, and it does a really nice job. And it's supposed to be a finishing cut, but I use it all the time. I figured, why tear all the wood out and then try to straighten it out afterwards? So I just kind of changed the way I turn. And you can see that the cut, the stuff that's coming off, is pretty much angel hair. But at the purpose for this demo, we're making a flat potato chip to let it curl up where it wants to go. I think we're good. We've got a few little voids in there, everything along those lines. We're nice and flat. We got a nice little characteristic of a knot, so it should do some funky stuff when it starts drying. So now the next part of drying paint. We need to get 2 millimeters. The problem with parting tools on this, tears the grain. Watching the top. I went to a smaller bowl gouge. Gotta have one of these. The bark pulled away there. We're 2.38 on that little edge. The reason I'm not going real deep is this sets the tone. 2.2. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I cut away, so I leave about 1/8 of an inch. Then you need a detail gouge. Ride the bevel. Oh, you lost it. So we went just that little bit. I grew quite a bit. So now we're just going to kind of clean cut it. We blend it. The hard part about this is it isn't perfectly round, so we got to make sure that this wing that's way out there continues on to the point where it's all running that way. Won't go away. Bart gave me a false shadow. I got worried. Oh, I cut through it. One more slice. Famous last cut, isn't it? Famous last cut. To make it a round one. What do you think? 4 millimeters? Yeah. 3.3. I knew I shouldn't have sharpened this tool. No, I sharpened this, and I don't know if I sharpened it real well. Take that. Remind me to do demos with round ones versus weird shaped ones. Again, now we're stepping it. We can't go real far down because then this gets sloppy. So I'm only going down about a 1/4 inch at a time. And we got to blend it. Check our thickness. Yes, sir.
Have you experimented with light for measurement?
The problem with this, you're at 2 millimeters thick, so it's already going to be glowing. And I don't know, Mike, when you did your maple, did you use light? So at this point, there's a point, I guess you could use light. Imagine you could use sound too. Imagine that would work. So you can see, Stanley, even on this, I still run a steep angle on this cut. Check and make sure you're tight. Move your toe rest out of the way so you don't bust it. Like I said, once you get a lot of this initiated, it seems to roll a little faster. And I'm just using it as a scraper right now in the detail gouge. And then start with your vernier calipers. Like I said, this is where it comes down where you just cannot just not turn the lathe off and expect this to retain, because I'm changing the face of the tool rest from parallel to side, working it from each direction. I'll bring that tool rest down just a hair. Use a smaller nose gouge, bowl gouge, just to kind of bring it down so you have a little more control over it. Got 3/4 an inch there, but now I'm just going to lighten it by about 3/8. Then pick it up from there. Oh, I'm waiting for it to warp all over the place. I'm waiting for it to do a nice little potato chip while it's wet. I damped it before. It really didn't matter. Turn up the speed, it runs true. As the plane gets longer, you can actually see the little minute rise. Might be, yeah, just a little thick there. So right now, Danny, I'm picking up the darkness of the heart wood in there too. Well, even if you look at the sandblasting, there are certain areas that are denser than others that couldn't get blasted through. So but it actually, everything that goes through here we want it as flat with the least amount of details, because when you start sandblasting, all those imperfections come up. Some of you may ask, do I turn this crazy at home? All depends on the piece. Again, tool control. I've got this tool against my body. I'm moving my body. My arms on the tool rest. Approaching, making the cut. And the big thing, don't be lazy and say, I can move this tool rest without turning off the lathe. I lock my finger against the tool rest so the tool doesn't get sucked in. Always blending in as you go, because you can't go back. Little curl in that. So you can see it's starting to warp because it's starting to dry. We're getting that chatter because I'm going uphill against the grain. You know, if you want to go down, it cuts real nice. you can see where the tool clearance is starting to come why you want it out that far. Fast enough? I'm starting to increase more and more speed as I get into the smaller diameter, so the tool cuts a little better. Whatever feels good. 2011.5. So I guess, what's that, 2,000? Or is it 1,100 right now? One or the other. It feels like about 1,100. 1,100. Get the bigger set. You're leaving? You know, he understood. He told me he was leaving beforehand. I always went look at how the demo's going by how many people are left. Mike had the opportunity to see a pro turner do this. Again, we're checking it as we go. Got a little thinner down there. Nice. If anybody knows me, I'm a staunch supporter of Trend Pro air shields. But nice thing about Greenwood, it doesn't make much dust. You see which tools are still sharp.
try to settle for donuts instead of
Oh, no, I like potato chips. Except, you're offered one of those bacon-covered donuts. Whoever brought those, I vote that they always get the donuts. Mike, you can see how the tool, having that block of wood that far out, is making all the difference in the world, because it's starting to get a little close in there. Well, that's where the longer noses chucks would help. But again, I'm going on the side of caution and safety for the club, since the way I turn. Daryl's only seen one thing blow up on me, and nobody got hurt, so. Keeping the wood there because it's the little frazzle things, I can feel it on my hand, and it feels better than the chuck. And I know that why. Good habit, always turn your lathe by hand a little bit before you kick it on. See, it's thick right there. I started one with a big check right down the center of it, and I kept turning it, and I started getting too thin down in here. I couldn't get the check out. And I said, let's see what happens. And I turned too aggressive and I blew a big chunk out of it, so I just threw it away. But other than that, if it wouldn't have had a check, it would have been... They're not really that terrible to turn. That you may think this is like... But the wood is really elastic, and it really... I can start... With this small detail gouge, I'm literally rubbing the bevel on it and giving me enough to shave off on that. I like it. She's starting to warp, except it's a little too round. You may still get that wish. You still may get your donut. Choice is yours how small you want to go in the diameter there. But it's all end grain, so this is all straight. So it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty stout on what's on there. You're all holding your breath, right? Oh, I'll cut it off. One more pass. One more pass. Tell you, it's tight in there. Right now, she's about, it might be 3/8. 2.9. So under 3/8. What do you think, we stop? Still have my hands. It's flexible as all get out, and like I said, it's surprising how much you can rub your tool on it as you're doing that. I'm self-taught. I was back in my junior year in high school. I started turning, so we're talking 1972. And all they had was round noses and scrapers, and we were gluing newspaper between plywood blocks and screwing on face plates, and said life was good. And we'd turn away, and I was crazy back then because I would turn 6x6 or 8x8 posts and things like that. Some of my turnings are still around. My mother still has a couple of them. Segmented bowls were gluing up cutting boards and then spiraling them up, and then, hey, I got a segmented board. Bowl. Turned for quite a while, and then I took 10 years off. I was down in North Carolina. I didn't have my lathe set up. Came back, and oh my Lord, vacuum chucks, screw four jaw chucks, bowl gouges, and I'm like kid in a candy store. So it comes back to that, make a bowl, don't be afraid to use a scraper. Just as long as the form looks good, scrape away, sand up. They did it for 100 years. Just because we can cut and make this thing happen doesn't mean that I'm doing it correctly. As you can see, I do my own way. Most people don't cut with that big of a skew. I basically do skew cuts with a bowl gouge. And it does a nice finished cut and everything along those lines. And again, that table inspired me. I still remember coming in here thinking I had the best piece in my hands, set it on the table and go, okay. There's somebody better out there. I'm going to make a better one. And then come back in the next month. But then I had people like Hobie, George Rader, Denny, every club member, hey, looks better. Jim Pugh was phenomenal. And keep Jim Pugh in your prayers. Because he inspired so many people in this club. So many people. And that's where all that comes from. You know, and in fact, I'm hoping that, you know, by doing this, I give a little back. You were willing to try something. Literally, Mike Nathan told me that I was turning a potato chip, and so I went to Dow Lumber day after Christmas, picked up the oak because I couldn't get it, and I practiced Christmas weekend with those two, dried them, sandblasted yesterday to one, shot some sealer on it, and it was fun.
Bring that one next week, next month, we'll see how much that's for.
It'll be, I'm going to, actually this one, I got a paper bag for, I'm going to throw some of the wood chips in it. And you think about this, you want to slow down the dry period, paper bag, I'm going to throw the damp chips in it, throw that right in there, and go from there. If you looked at the one that was dry, you'd seen it was really black. I was sanding it up on my bandsaw, and tannic acid from the oak brought the black right through the metal. So, you know, we're going to have to wipe down this real good because the lathe will be black for next month.
How many chips are you putting in that bag?
Just a couple handfuls, yeah. So, what's the purpose of the sandblasting? Where's that piece at? No, not that one, the other one. I'm using it for a soup strainer. It naturally funnels off and I kind of strain it out. But Padu would bleach it white and basically make it look like lace. He has one piece that there's pictures of if you go to his webpage. I think he did it 30 inches in diameter. 3 sisters on it. I can't remember his name. Padak or Padu. Just he's a French one. I'll put it on the. I'll make Mike put it on the webpage. But he did one with 3 sisters on it. Really did some enormous twisting, and then sandblasted the whole thing. And you asked him how he sandblasted. He said very, very, very carefully. I went to Harbor Freight, bought a cabinet, and I was blasting it away, and when I could feel the air blow through in my fingertips, I knew I was through. But the thinner you go, the easier it is to sandblast. Because I went too much on certain areas, and I think I got 4 hours into that, sandblasting. So, glass bead, do not use silica sand. No silica sand, glass bead. I used black oxide to start with, and then I noticed it was black. So I said, ugh. And then once you get done, you start going there with a little needle, picking out the little particles of glass that's in it. But it's just a different look. You know, it's just a different look. Fun project. It was a challenge. And but I'm starting to turn more of those.
You think you can put that in a platter that's got definitely shaped and wet and then let it dry?
If you go, I'm trying to think of his first name. Did you do it? Yeah, Pasquale. What was his first name? I can't remember. But going Pasquale, he actually made a teapot in a big thing, making the whole thing 2 millimeters thick, and then sandblasted in the lace. And then he started doing these cones. So he would take the log and turn it into a cone like this, and then basically sandblast it out. This one, by tonight, if I leave it out, it will look like, this is like halfway there tonight. Or it's by tomorrow, definitely. Well, the problem with that comes into is you're fighting the grain then. This wants to go somewhere. Yeah. Wood chips. I dried this way too fast.
That's why I'm saying if you sealed it, it would slow the evaporation down from both sides. It might not dry out.
Yeah, but then you got sealer on your wood, then what are you going to do to finish it? I don't know. Hey, turn one this month and bring it in. Tell me how it works. They told me to cut a potato chip. Wet log. Day after Christmas. So, the only thing I'm thinking about, probably if I do any more of these, I'd like to max it out at 24 inches and see how it happens.